As the cars cross over the finish ramp, let's talk briefly about the fourth round of the 2025 ERC season. Let's talk about the 81st All-in-Oil Rally Poland. Let's start off with the podium, because is it any surprise that Martin Sesks won? I don't really think that it is. He won by nearly a minute over local driver Miko Marchek, who beat John Armstrong to second place by 9.5 seconds. John Armstrong, who'd finished second in Rally Silesia to round out last year's ERC calendar, had a 10-second time penalty for hitting a hay bale. I don't know if M Sport would consider protesting it, but it's something that, essentially, if you look at the stage note, it says this bale cannot be touched. And it was. So that's why they're giving him the penalty. I don't think it's any kind of, bias in favour of national driver. But let's talk about Sesks, because we had 6 stages today, and he won 4 of them. The 2 that he didn't win, he was second and third. When you look at the Saturday stages, we had 8 of them, right? Or 7, I guess, because Mikowaiki Arena 1 was on the Friday. But we can even look through them. The first 8 stages, he won 5 of them. He was third in the 2 runs at Mikowaiki Arena, and he was 5th in Oleko. In fact, 2 of the stages were ones where he went off and made mistakes, and he still managed top 5 times in every single stage of the event. And like I said, he won 5 stages yesterday, 4 stages today. That is almighty impressive. It's more than half the stages. It shows that the young Latvian has got so much experience under his belt now, despite his young age. He's got so much raw talent. He's got so much raw speed. So that's great news for M Sport, right? With the WRC, they can go, okay, we know he has this potential. We know that he still has the potential, because look at how much he's just dominated Rally Poland. So what can we do to help him? Because remember, last year he did Rally Poland, but in a dehybrided Rally 1 car. So, yeah, it's almightily impressive. I mean, the top 3 were, but Sesks won by over a minute. He took the power stage by 10 seconds. That is domination. Absolute domination of a rally. Outside of them, look at the rest of the top 10. You then have Isaac Riesen and Mats Ostberg rounding out the top 5. And it leads to another similar situation to what we had last time out, where in the top 5, you have different combinations of tyre and car. A Fabio on MRFs, a Fabio on Michelins, a Pirelli Shod Ford, a Hankook Skoda, a Michelin Citroen, and then the first repeat is P6, an MRF Skoda for Tempestini, then a Hankook Skoda for Mileia Hansen. Then we have our first Pirelli Skoda for Andrea Mabolini, a repeating Michelin Skoda for Jakub Batulka, and then the old spec Fabia R5 on Pirellis for Krzysztof Bubek. He managed to pip Max McRae, I believe, on the power stage. Then you have Jakub Brzezinski. Then we have Vishkevich with a Fabia Rally 2 Evo. Then we have Black behind the wheel of a Fabia. And then our top Rally 3 car, by the looks of things, in 15th place. Is it really surprising that Timek Aperovsky, who I believe didn't he win the category last time out as well? I mean, he was one of the people that said put your money on for this event. And with that, let's talk about ERC3. Because Abramovsky won over Ville Vatanen by 17 seconds. Tristan Charpentier was 4 seconds behind. It sounds almost like what we were talking about after Royal Rally Scandinavia. But again, we have a Fiesta from a Clio from a Fiesta. Wabuda was in 4th place, and in 5th place was Hubert Kowalczyk. So again, it's one of those ones where ERC3, we're talking about, in terms of the full-time competitors, typically the same people up at the front. I mean, the likes of Unten Gran having Super Rally doesn't really mean too much. I was surprised that Igor Vidwak was down in 8th place at the end of it all. But when you look at that top 3, they're separated by 21.4 seconds. These are people who are up and coming. These are people to keep an eye on if you're looking for the future of rallying, not only in Europe, but I assume that we'll see them up at the WRC stage before too long. But let's talk about the ERC4 and the ERC Juniors. And with the passing of Matteo Doretto just before the rally started, it's hard to talk about the ERC Juniors because he was on the podium last time in Hungary. Kalle Karlberg picks up another win, another domineering win as well. 2 minutes 23 clear of Johan Lloyd. It's nice to see a Lancia on the podium. It's a Stellantis podium, Opel from Peugeot from Lancia. But it's really good to say that Tuukka Kolpinen has managed to get to the podium of this event. Kolpinen, the Arctic Rally winner in a Rally 2 car earlier this year, has really struggled to show the potential that we know that he has in the Junior ERC. But he puts that Lancia on the podium ahead of Aoife Raftery, who did a commendable job. She was, 30 seconds behind Kolpinen. The top 5 rounded out by Marky Gertitz. It just means more and more that Kalle Karlberg looks more and more like the person I'm going to say is almost the rally driver of the year. Because, yes, Perez won the first round, but Karlberg's been on another level. I think I said a similar thing for Mille Johansson last year. So, not too surprising. But let's talk about some of the retirements, because some of them were spectacular. I haven't seen an onboard from Rupert Korhonen's crash, but it's good to see that him and Antti Vinica got out of the car okay. Jos Verstappen's one on the power stage was quite impressive. He lost a wheel, I believe, at least what EWRC is saying in it as well. But there were 2 crashes on the power stage, because Jaroslav Sheda also went off on the power stage. There are also spectacular moments for the likes of, for example, Gregor Gib, who rolled on stage 3 and retired from the event because of accident damage. And the recovery from the roll was actually pretty impressive as well, because he just kept going. But I assume there was something like roll cage damage, so it wouldn't have been safe to continue. Anyways, with all said and done now from Rally Poland, Mika Marczyk has a championship lead of, 16 points? Mads Osberg's in 2nd place. Now, bear in mind, drop rounds are a thing in the ERC. You drop your worst score. However, for Rupert Korhonen, he's had his drop round now. His drop round was the non-entry for Spain. So, this retirement in Poland is going to be a big issue. It's going to factor in for the end of this season. So Marczyk having this lead, in reality, if we factored in the dropped scores now, Marczyk would still be in the lead. He'd be on 68 points, have 8 points over, well, Not Mads Salzburg, because he'd lose 11 points, he'd be down to 54. But a three-way tie behind Mads Salzburg right now in the standings for Rupa Korhonen, Isak Riesen, and Andrea Mabellini. Now all three of those drivers have taken their drop score in theory. Korhonen through 2 DNFs, Riesen and Mabellini through non-scores themselves. So, yeah, it's very much the championship battle. And you couldn't even really rule out Mads Osberg, because if we put all of that together and we took away the worst scores from the drivers, he'd be, 14 points behind? John Armstrong would be just over 20 points behind. Mille Johansson is in 7th and could in theory still be competitive. And hey, we haven't even factored in the fact that we've had 3 different winners who've essentially been one-offs already this season. Grosjean we should expect to be back for the rest of the season. I believe he's on a 5-round program. But we don't necessarily expect to see Sesks again, or even Brynildsen. So realistically, I would say anybody who is in that top 7 right now in the standings could be in for a shout over these final 4 rounds of getting the championship. Now, the final 4 rounds are all tarmac, so which way does it end up? We'll just have to wait and see, won't we? Anyways, those are my thoughts, those are my feelings, those are the things that stood out for me. Let me know any thoughts that you've had in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, folks, and until next time, it's bye for now.